Look, I have been a curator at the Galactic Archives for 372 cycles. 372. I have catalogued artifacts from 6,000 species, witnessed the fall of empires, and once had to explain to a Vortelian diplomat why we could not, in fact, return the ceremonial eating bowl that his ancestors used for their sacred soup rituals. It was made of compressed neutron matter and weighed approximately 4,000 tons. But nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, prepared me for the day Marcus Webb walked into my museum. The human stood there, gangly and awkward, wearing what I can only describe as fabric coverings that looked like they had been pulled from a donation bin. His species had only just been granted provisional membership to the Galactic Council. Provisional. That means we were not even sure they would not accidentally blow themselves up within the next decade. And here he was, standing in front of our most prized exhibit, the Omega Blade. "Excuse me," he said, tapping on the quantum-sealed display case like it was ordinary glass. My twin hearts nearly stopped. I think there has been some kind of mistake. I rushed over, my tentacles flailing in what I hoped was an authoritative manner. "Sir, please step away from the exhibit. That casing costs more than your entire planet's gross domestic product." He looked at me with those strange, forward-facing predator eyes that humans have. Terrifying, really. Then he smiled. Smiled. "Right, sorry about that. But seriously, where did you get this sword? Where did we get it? Where did we get it?" I felt my chromatophores shifting through several colors of indignation. "Young human, this is the Omega Blade. It was recovered from the Andirian expanse. Carbon dating places its creation at approximately 14.6 billion years ago. That predates this galaxy. Do you understand? This weapon existed before the stars you see in your night sky were even born." Marcus tilted his head, squinting at the information placard. "Huh. That is weird. Weird? Weird. This is the single most ancient artifact ever discovered. Scholars have spent millennia trying to determine which precursor civilization could have possibly forged such a thing. The metallurgy alone defies every known principle of materials science. The molecular structure should not exist. Cannot exist. And yet here it is, perfect, unblemished, eternal." "Yeah, about that," Marcus said, reaching into his pocket that I activated the security alert. Instantly, 12 combat drones materialized from the walls, their plasma cannons trained on the human. "Do not move." He froze, hands half in his pockets, looking genuinely confused. "Whoa, whoa. Easy there, buddy. I am just getting my wallet." "Your what?" "My wallet. You know, the thing where I keep my identification cards and pictures of my dog?" I signaled the drones to standby mode but kept them visible. Humans were unpredictable. He slowly extracted a small leather rectangle and flipped it open, pulling out a thin, laminated card. "See? Student ID. Maxwell University, class of 2247. And before you ask, yes, that is Earth Standard Calendar." I stared at the card, then at the sword, then back at the card. I fail to see the relevance. Look at the date on the sword's catalog entry. When exactly did you guys find this thing? I checked my data pad. It was discovered 43 years ago in a collapsed quantum pocket near the Helix Nebula. Right. And I graduated 51 years ago. Earth years, but still. He pointed at the blade. That is a ceremonial longsword from my university's engineering program. We each got one when we completed our thesis. Mine was about sustainable fusion reactor designs, super boring, but the sword was cool. See that little engraving near the hilt? I enhanced the display, zooming in on the section he indicated. There, barely visible even at maximum magnification, were symbols in what I recognized as human English script. MW, class of 2247, per aspera ad astra. My brain compartments were not processing this correctly. That is impossible. Yeah, I thought I lost it during a move. Had to pay the university like 200 credits for a replacement. Guess it ended up in a quantum pocket somehow. He shrugged as if this was a normal occurrence. Man, if I had known you guys would think it was 14 billion years old, would have kept better track of my stuff. But the carbon dating. The molecular analysis. The impossible metallurgy. Oh, that. Yeah, we make these things out of processed asteroid metal with a diamond carbon lattice structure. Super durable. The university wanted something that would last, you know? Good advertising when alumni can pass them down for generations. Although, 14 billion years might be overselling it a bit. I felt faint. The room was spinning. This could not be happening. You are telling me that the most significant archaeological find in galactic history, the artifact that has stumped our greatest minds, the impossible blade that has rewritten our understanding of deep time and ancient civilizations, is actually a graduation present from a human trade school? Engineering school, but yeah, pretty much. He grinned, clearly enjoying my existential crisis. So, can I have it back, or is there like a claim process I need to fill out? The security drones were still hovering nearby, unsure whether to shoot him or file paperwork. I did what any rational being would do in this situation. I fainted. Well, not completely fainted, more like experienced a temporary consciousness disruption due to overwhelming cognitive dissonance. When I regained full awareness, Marcus was fanning me with a museum brochure while a medical drone scanned my vital signs. "You good?" he asked, looking genuinely concerned. "I did not mean to break you." "Break me? Break me?" I struggled to my feet, all 6 of them. "Do you have any idea what you have just done? Do you comprehend the magnitude of this revelation? There are 17 doctoral dissertations about that sword." 17. Professor Kelmuth spent 40 years of his life arguing that the Omega Blade proved the existence of a universe before the Big Bang. Marcus winced. Oof. That is awkward. Awkward? Awkward? My voice hit frequencies that made the display cases vibrate. The Zypherian Empire paid 4 trillion credits for a 3-month loan of that sword. They built an entire temple around it. They have a holiday celebrating its discovery. To be fair, Marcus said, holding up a finger, that does sound like a them problem. I wanted to strangle him. I really did. But humans were surprisingly durable, and I did not feel like filling out the incident reports. Instead, I took several deep breaths through my auxiliary breathing tubes and tried to think logically. How did your graduation sword end up in a quantum pocket that our best scientists dated to the literal beginning of time? Oh, that is actually a funny story. Marcus laughed, which was not helping my stress levels. So, after graduation, a bunch of us decided to go camping on Europa. You know, Jupiter's moon. Beautiful ice caves, really great views. Anyway, my buddy Jake thought it would be hilarious to test out his new quantum displacement field generator. He was always building weird stuff. This one was supposed to create temporary storage pockets for camping gear. I felt another fainting spell coming on. Please tell me you are joking. Nope. So Jake activates this thing, and it works great at first. We are shoving tents and coolers into these little pocket dimensions, feeling super clever. Then Jake gets drunk on Venusian whiskey, which, by the way, terrible idea, never drink that stuff. He starts messing with the settings, cranking up the temporal displacement field because he wants to see if we can store beer cold enough to survive a supernova. His words, not mine. And your sword? I had just used it to open a particularly stubborn package of marshmallows. Left it lying on a rock. Jake's machine goes haywire, starts opening random quantum pockets all over the place. One of them just yoinks my sword right off the rock and, I guess, throws it 14 billion years into the past. Or creates a pocket that existed outside normal time? Honestly, the physics gets weird. Jake failed that class twice. I stared at him. The combat drones stared at him. Even the museum's AI seemed to be staring at him, though it did not have eyes. You are telling me that the greatest mystery in modern archaeology was caused by a drunken human playing with experimental technology while camping? Pretty much, yeah. And you just forgot about it? Marcus shrugged. I mean, I filed a lost item report with campus security, but they never found it. Figured it was at the bottom of Europa's ocean or something. This is way weirder. I sat down heavily on the nearest bench. My entire career was flashing before my eyes. All those conferences. All those peer-reviewed papers. The prestigious awards. The smug satisfaction of explaining to laypeople that I worked with an artifact older than the galaxy itself. All of it, based on a drunk college student's camping mishap. So, Marcus said, sitting down next to me, about getting my sword back. Absolutely not. What? Come on, man, it is mine. Listen to me very carefully, I said, my voice dropping to what I hoped was a menacing whisper. If word gets out about this, if anyone learns the truth, it will destroy careers. Institutions. Entire fields of study will collapse. Do you understand? People have dedicated their lives to studying that sword. But it is literally just a graduation gift. I know that. You know that. But they do not need to know that. I was gesticulating wildly now, my tentacles forming shapes that would have been considered obscene in several cultures. We are going to keep this quiet. You are going to leave. I am going to very carefully lose the documentation of your visit. And that sword is going to remain the mysterious Omega Blade, ancient artifact of incomprehensible origin. Marcus frowned. That seems dishonest. Says the species that introduced the concept of pyramid schemes to the Galactic Council. That was one guy, and he is in prison now. We sat there in silence for a moment, the weight of the situation settling over us like a heavy blanket made of lies and shattered academic integrity. Finally, Marcus sighed. Okay, look. I will make you a deal. You can keep the sword. But I want it noted in the records that it was donated by Marcus Webb, human, in the interest of interspecies cultural exchange. That is acceptable, I said quickly. Too quickly. And, he continued, holding up a finger, I want a plaque. A nice one. Brass, maybe. With my name on it. Right next to the display case. I considered this. A plaque was a small price to pay for maintaining the comfortable lie that had defined my professional existence. Done. Marcus stood up and extended his hand. I grasped it with one tentacle, and we shook. The gesture felt oddly formal, given that we were essentially agreeing to perpetrate academic fraud on a galactic scale. You know, he said as he headed toward the exit, I have got like 6 more of those swords at home. Different designs, same program. If you ever want to expand your collection of impossibly ancient artifacts, just let me know. He left before I could process that statement. I sat there, surrounded by priceless relics and comfortable lies, wondering if I should retire early. Then I looked at the Omega Blade, gleaming under its quantum-sealed case, beautiful and mysterious and definitely, absolutely, certainly not a graduation present from a human engineering school.my communicator buzzed. It was Professor Kelmuth, asking if he could schedule another research session with the blade. I approved his request and added a note about the generous donation from Marcus Webb, human cultural ambassador. Sometimes, I reflected, the universe was better off not knowing the truth. Besides, the Zytherians really seemed to love their temple. The plaque arrived 3 days later. Brass, just like Marcus requested, with his name spelled correctly and everything. I installed it myself, right next to the display case. Nobody ever asked questions. Nobody ever suspected. And the Omega Blade remained the galaxy's greatest mystery, well, second greatest. The first was how humans had survived this long without accidentally erasing themselves fro.